I know that we are long past a point of, where words are not enough. They
Mhm.
have never been enough, and they're certainly not enough now. And so action is what is needed. I I I know that. So what actions, what are the things that we can do to be allies for you to show up and help make a difference and make change that is so long overdue?
So all Canadians have to demand justice and human rights for all Canadians, especially the most oppressed and the ones that went through the genocide. Okay.
Yes.
And so that's really important, Indigenous people and people of color. Now, BIPOC is not right. You're forgetting the A. The Asian community go through a lot as well. It is wrong to leave them out. So you got that one first off wrong. So the A needs to be added. You can't leave out a community, a whole community that goes through these things as well, especially with COVID when they're getting the worst of it of COVID, all that racism, all the Asian community in the United States. Well, that's bleeding. All that hate bleeds into this country as well. Okay, it dusted up a lot of the racism we've been seeing a lot here lately, as well, right? So, identity. When you see that racism, do something about it. Give them some truth. But on the other hand, these are also people who cannot be rationalized with, who have a mental health issue, who are not educated, and who just have a heart full of hate, right? So there's some people you can reach and some people you can't, and I've learned that over the years. But usually I win them over, because in the end, we're all Canadians, but we're seeing a lot of racism dust up. We're seeing a lot of things. But since the 215 residential school children, um, that were just their bodies were discovered, I think it's at 600 now. Okay, so it's counting and counting and counting. You're going to find there's going to be hundreds of thousands, just like they did to us in the very beginning of the genocide when we were first here. As soon as we taught the settlers to survive, that's when they started to kill us. And all Indigenous people all over the world, what do they die for? They die because people, other parties and governments and all, they want the power of land and they want the power of water. You ask any oppressed Indigenous person who is the poorest in their country, they will tell you all of that. That they get all these empty promises, they get all this stuff. So we need to hold the governments accountable and demand policy and procedure to be changed for the people and to give human rights to the oppressed, all oppressed Canadians. This is ridiculous. It's 2021, and here in Indigenous people are still fighting for human rights. Okay. And and not all Canadians are taught in school the truth. I had to grow up to be an adult to find out the truth myself. And then I understood, oh, that's what happened to my mother. That's what happened to my grandmother and all that come before me. So no wonder that happened to me. I totally understand what happened to me now, but they don't want that. They don't want us healed because they don't want us taking our land back. They don't want us taking our water back. They don't want us, getting strong and entitled into what Indigenous people are truly, truly connected to. Okay. Now, if you watch the movie Avatar, that is the closest depiction of what Indigenous people are. And James Cameron came to our community and Fort Mackay and Fort Chip. So he came up there too before he made Avatar.
Yeah.
And so that's the closest depiction. And so I need you to spread that around to people. Say, hey, if you don't know the truth, just watch Avatar. That's what the Indigenous people are going through right now, right now. So the next part two is the shape of water. I believe it has to do with water. So I'm telling you, people, like he understood because James Cameron listened to us. So that kind of thing. Educate the ignorance, educate the ignorance, try to reach the hate. Okay. And give them that truth of what and stick up for us when we're not there, and all of that. Please, we really appreciate it. Write letters, do vehicle convoys, do marches, demand justice, as we know that they are not being accountable and they never have been. Okay. And what the government has done to the living of an Albertan. You know, they've been doing this to us for a long time. Okay. What do you think they're going to do to you eventually? Okay. So if you allow this to happen, the government thinks, oh, all Canadians are good with what we're doing to Indigenous people. So we can start doing it to them. Right. So it's just, you know, just, you got to be careful. You need truth. You need education, and you need to talk to the Indigenous people with lived experience like me to get that truth. You ain't going to find it in colonial school systems. You ain't going to find it as a social worker. Okay. You can have the best intent to help, but the government and policies will always put a wall there. Doesn't matter how good of a cop you are, there's a wall there. Doesn't matter how good of a social worker you are to save children, there's a wall there. And everyone hits that wall. So we have to demand that this wall get taken down, and policies and procedures are getting rid of that have nothing to do but oppress peoples. Okay. So now you know the truth, and now you have to do also have people like me to come out to do awareness,
Yes.
prevention, and action. This is what it's all about. We're sick and tired of talking. Only when these bodies, 215 bodies were found, did Canada start believing us. And now they're starting to believe. The way Canadians responded to my CBC article on my residential school experience last year compared to this year, total night and day. I had people calling me, apologizing. I lost friends, family, public, over telling them the truth of my residential school experience here in Edmonton. So don't forget that. Don't forget it. They strategically murdered, and it was genocide, and they continue with genocide, oppression, and systematic racism. So if you allow that, you're accountable as well as a Canadian. So once you know better, you do better. And nothing about Indigenous people without us. Nothing about us without us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie.